everyone, Jaimie Madison here. Welcome to my YouTube channel. Today we're going to be playing with the Simon Says Stamp August card kit. This has the Mandy's flower stamp set inside. I have just been really loving the stamp set. I actually love any kind of floral stamp sets. I didn't realize that I was such a floral lover until I started doing my cards, and now I just want to do anything that has flowers in it. So I'm going to be doing the circle floral image here with the small rose on the bottom. And I'm going to be stamping that on my Bristol Smooth 300 paper. This is the paper I pretty much use for any of my watercoloring with my Arteza markers. It just blends a little bit easier than my watercolor paper. The texture of the paper is smoother, so it doesn't absorb your marker as quick. So with the watercolor paper, it's made to take on a lot of water, so it does absorb, but it absorbs too quickly with your markers, so this gives me a little bit more time to work. So I went ahead and stamped that with my VersaFine and Onyx Black, and then I'm just going to heat emboss that with some black embossing powder. Now I will let you know that I forgot to prime my paper before I did my stamping, so take note from me, make sure you use that powder tool or powder bag, whatever you use for your embossing. Make sure you do that before you stamp, because I did not, and I had a nice fun time trying to clean up my mess. So I went ahead and set that until it was smooth and melted, and heated the back to keep from warping. So because I am going to be watercoloring on this, so I don't want any of the color to go heavier on one side. So I went ahead and pulled out my powder tool for the thank you sentiment that I'm about to put on here. I did not forget after that. Lesson learned. Make sure that I have that powder tool always on hand whenever I am doing my heat embossing. I've actually forgot to use my powder tool quite often lately, and you would think I would learn by now, but I haven't. So now I'm going to go in with my distressed ink. This is the brush corduroy, and I'm using that thank you stamp from the Mandy stamp set. I didn't have a brown tea colored ink, but I do have plenty of my little mini distress ink. So what I did was I went over this 4 times. I mean, maybe one time was an overkill, but I wanted to make sure that it was very deep in color. I didn't want it to be splotchy or missing anything, so I went ahead and just did that one extra time on there to make sure that everything was nice and vibrant. Then I'm going to go over with my Versamark. I will say, make sure you clean your stamp before you go over with your Versamark, because it is a clear, and you don't want to take a chance on transferring color onto your Versamark, because if you go in with another color, you may ruin your project because you had ink on your ink pad. So always make sure you wipe that off before you go in with that if you're stamping onto a color. So I just stamped that Versamark twice, and then my heat tool was already nice and hot, and as you see when I'm going through the thank you, the lettering just turns out just perfectly. So since I'm watercoloring, water would have ruined the thank you if I wouldn't have embossed it first, because distress ink does reactivate with water, so it would have just made a huge mess all over that area, and I wanted to do like a tea stained old school card. My parents were into antiques, and growing up I loved the tea stained cards or paper. I just love that deep tea stained images. So I had that in my mind, and I wanted to do something like that. My mom, she would have loved something, tea stained like that, because like I said, growing up, my parents had a lot of antiques in our house. And I still have some antiques in my house as well. I don't keep as many as she did. She loved that old country antique-y look. So what I'm going to do is, I had that in my mind, so I went in with some autumn red. This could be a nice fall card as well, but I was kind of going for more of a country chic kind of look, I guess you could say. And I just put my autumn red in just the areas that had the texture on the rose. So anywhere that it showed texture, I added that red too. And then I just blended that out and just kept adding on my color. And what that does is it's going to build that depth to make that rose have a little bit more of a dimensional color and not just all one color. So what you want to do whenever you're using Arteza markers, you want to blend it out and then go back in to deepen those colors. Don't lay all your color down at once because it's going to make it harder for you to get the look that you're trying to achieve. So as I'm blending through these flowers, I went ahead and took my autumn red as well onto the leaves. And what I did was I just put it in just different spots on the leaves because as you can see, the leaves have like designs to them. It's not just a solid leaf, area. So what I did was I figured if I would add my autumn red, that would give my brushed corduroy a little bit darker colors. So it would kind of break the leaves up. You know how when leaves start changing, you'd have like brown spots on them or red spots as the leaves are changing colors. So that's what I had in mind for the leaves, and it turned out really well. I was very happy with that. Then I'm going to go pick up my autumn red. I only used those two colors for this whole card, and I'm going to try Kristina Warner's design with the use one color for a whole card. I should have done that with this card. I didn't have that challenge out yet because I could have pulled it off without the autumn red. I think I could have did either the brushed corduroy or just used the autumn red. I'm not quite sure which way I would have went with it. I do love the way that rose pinky color looks. So I probably would have went with the autumn red for that challenge on this card. But I guess I'll have to do another card and choose a different color and just do one color for the whole card. I think that's a great inspiration and it helps you use your color more than just one spot. It makes you rethink how you're using that color and how you can benefit more. I just love that idea. So I went in with my brushed corduroy on top of the rose itself as well. Like I said, I really wanted this to look, country-like, old style, how I grew up, kind of back home kind of feeling. My family is from the country, most of them at least, and I just love the country living. I love all of that family and connectivity, and I love tea as well. I have to have tea every day. If you guys are tea lovers as well, let me know below what's your favorite tea brand. My tea personally, because I'm not a lemon fan at all, I don't like any taste of lemon in my tea. I know I'm crazy. I like home brewed Lipton. But if I don't have time to make tea and I'm out on the go, I will always go for Gold Peak. Gold Peak is my one and only tea brand that I will drink. I haven't found one that has been suitable yet for me compared to my home tea. That it gets pretty close. Sometimes it's a little sweet, depends on the day. But yeah, Gold Peak would be my tea. So as you see, I'm blending in this brushed corduroy. And the thank you is not moving because we heat embossed it. Now, if we would not have heat embossed that thank you, you probably wouldn't even hardly see the thank you because it would have reactivated and it would have just smeared all out. So this kind of gives you another reason to use your distressed ink. It gives you that extra color that you may not have had, which is one of the reasons I love the distressed inks. Because not only can you paint with them or do a wash with them, but you can also stamp with them. And using a clear embossing powder, that's not going to go anywhere. So love this image. I love how this turned out. This is exactly the colors that I was going for. So I went ahead and fussy cutted that thank you out. And now here I'm going to be picking my paper out. This is like a long process for me, trying to figure out what fits best. So I kind of put that in here so you can kind of see what goes through my head and how picky I am with the colors that I choose. I had two colors in mind, not colors, but two papers in mind. And it's so funny that I just kept flashing over the one that I end up picking. But I picked out these two because I kind of like the honeycomb design on the pink one, but then the light pink one had white dots, and I love dots as well. And I knew I was going to go with a brown background to bring out that tea, that corduroy color. So I went with the darker brown. I liked the way it brought the brush corduroy to the front of your eye instead of blending together. It made it more pop as a yellow, which is what I was going for. And I kept going to this honeycomb. And I was like, I don't know. I don't really like the way the white is in the center. So then I went back to the polka dotted one and I was like, no, I really don't like how light pink that is. And then here I am picking out the triangle shaped. And I love the way that that contrasted with that flower. So the brown paper is just a Michaels paper stock. It comes in a huge pack of, I think it's 5x5, but it could be 6x6. But it's just a little paper pad. And I just line that up with my cardstock that I already have folded to an A2. And I just trace around and then I cut that. So that's exactly an A2 size brown piece of paper after I cut that and adhere it. And I just adhered it with my ATG gun. And then I went ahead and just took a little bit off of the pink paper. I just wanted some of that brown showing, but I didn't get a measurement on it. I think I kind of just eyeballed it. But I will say with this double-sided foam tape, I wish I would have did 4 strips instead of 3. Because when I went to do my dashed lines on it, it kind of bended whenever I went to push my marker down. So if I would have had an extra, piece of foam tape, I wouldn't have had any issues. And it turned out fine in the end, but it would have just gave that a little bit more stable during the center of it. So now I'm going to go in with my little foam squares. These are from Dollar Tree. I use these pretty much every time. They're just perfect for, popping up your little images. I like how they're pre-cut and they make it a little bit easier on me. And then I just cut in a few little tiny pieces. I didn't want anything to droop or have a chance of coming off or getting tore. So I just kind of fussied around with that. So after I went ahead and removed that adhesive, I just applied that to the center of my card. Then I'm going to go ahead and go in with my Sharpie. I just did some dash lines like I said, and when I got to the center of the card, the bottom and the top, that's when it kind of like pushed in. And I was like, oh no, I should have added that extra adhesive. So every card is a learning curve for me. I'm so new at card making. I just started card making in March. And when I say just started, I knew nothing about card making. I started watching Kristina Warner's cards. And I was like, that looks like so much fun. I think I could do that. And I started watching them around her holiday card series. And I just kept watching every video, and every video kept making me want to make a card more and more. So I just started doing cards. So a little bit by little bit, I'm getting better and better. I'm so happy that you guys have came and joined me on my little happy quest. And I really appreciate everyone. So I hope you enjoyed my cards. Here's both of them that I made together. And have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you next time. Bye!